the system that has the higher ability to contrast the dynamic aspects of a recording, to play it back in a more crisper fashion, that's a more musical and a better sounding system. It's a resolution in time, how crisp something becomes. The word crisp is probably the better word for this definition. How much crispier can a system differentiate between different recordings? Differentiates between different notes, how these notes accurately are displayed in time. And that makes a difference whether we enjoy music or not enjoy music. It's not about how much information we have, but how accurately this information is being played back. That's the dynamic resolution I'm talking about, that most systems lack. Now let's talk about what can be done to improve the dynamic resolution. And that's what we do. We focus on this aspect so much that we ended up with music systems which basically been focusing on optimizing the dynamic aspect of the playback. We came up with acoustics, our monitors, for example. It does wonders in terms of enhancing the accuracy, the timing, and the cohesion. So we have less blurriness. We have an absolute cohesion. We can't have a dissonance with two different drivers and distort the timing, which is so crucial. This is everything. Why do we want to use a single microphone? Why do we want to have a single source playback? Well, this is exactly what we're trying to achieve with a single full-range driver. It's a single point playback. We have eliminated all the dissonances between different drivers because everything plays as one. We have no blurriness between the notes. It sounds as one. It's not like two vocalists being out of tune or two guitarists not playing in time. They are always on time. It's always precise. Having more accurate dynamic presentation. That's a full-range driver crossover system. Once somebody experiences a system where it has a single full-range driver without any crossover, by definition, it's a jaw-dropping experience because they never heard anything as musical and realistic sounding as this. The reason why most audiophiles like myself back in the days started off with headphones. And headphones, they have the advantage over speakers. They're single drivers and they have no crossovers. When one thinks about the performance in these dynamic terms, the dynamic contrast, the ability of a driver next to your ears, nothing in between, listening directly to a source without crossovers. I understand why people are obsessed or why people prefer headphones over speakers, because they are closer to the source. And this is exactly what we are trying to achieve. Our full-range MTR 963 monitors is exactly the same concept. This is basically large headphones on steroids, because exactly like headphones, they have no crossover. It's a one single driver. Everything is super direct and coherent. It is impossible to achieve something like this when you have multiple drivers, when you have a crossover. When one enters the hobby or just starts with the hobby, headphones, they're affordable, and given the ability that they're affordable, the level of performance they're able to provide to a listener is unparalleled to these conventional multi-way speakers with crossovers, because they're simply close to the source, they're compact, they're on their ears. As I said, single driver, no crossover. Now the pendulum has swung the opposite direction. Now we have headphones that cost more than speakers. That's why we have our monitors. It's the same concept. There's no dissonance, there's no blurriness, because there's a single driver. And there are no passive components that are detrimental to the quality, the resolution, the ability to play back those low-level musical information that we are so much after. Capacitors, which is a passive component used in any crossover, they're one of the most imperfect components known to me, apart from resistors and chokes or inductors. They just tend to remove, they decimate the low-level musical information. It gets lost through the dielectric absorption, whatever. It's irreparably lost, that's it. And every crossover has them. The energy is just being absorbed and converted into heat by all these resistors on the crossover. So if your crossover has a resistor, be sure, no matter how small the resistor is, it's going to tame the dynamics of your playback. It's very easy, just jump that resistor and listen how more lively your speakers are going to sound in the crossover. Yes, it's going to be less, obviously it will interfere with the filtering network, but listen for the ability of playback dynamics. It improves. What does it tell you? Resistor, capacitors, inductors, anything. The crossover is the biggest evil when it comes to improving the resolution of your playback. Well, that's exactly the reason why starting audiophiles or the headphone audiophiles stay with headphones. Multiple drivers and the crossover are so bad for the playback. It's like the best resistor is no resistor, the best capacitor is no capacitor, the best inductor is no inductor, the best crossover is no crossover. The best driver is a single driver, is always was and always going to be. And if it's done right, you have all the full frequency range from top to bottom, all present, played back in one, as one in unison. So isn't that what we're all after?